Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the morning after. It's season 23. When did that happen? How did that happen? So obviously we're recapping Colton's season, and with every recap this season, we are going to start with a moment that delivered. And so this is in partnership with Skip the Dishes, and we're going to pretty much talk about, well, whatever I want to talk about. Whatever moment I think really delivered, and I'm putting a lot of thought into these this season. And with that in mind, I think the moment that delivered in last night's season 23 premiere was, this is a moment that touched me, was when the women saw Alex, I think it's Dee, she was the one in the sloth costume, and she was about to take off her sloth head. And instead of hearing girls judge and laugh at her and in general refer to her like she was some crazy person, we got quotes like, "I hope she's stunning," and Demi said, "I want her to whip that sloth head off and be a fierce ass bitch." And this moment really kind of marked, I think, a change in this show, not only in how we watch it, but even the girls on it. And they're on her side, you know, they're sort of rooting for her. And in general, there was an emphasis last night on the girls anticipating friendships with each other as much as possibly, you know, a romantic relationship with Colton. So I thought this was super, super sweet, and it really stuck out to me. And so that is this week's moment that delivered. Whew. Okay, now I'm gonna start with hometown packages. So we always get those intro videos at the beginning of every premiere, and I'm gonna quickly go through these fast. Cassie was first. Based on, everything about Cassie to me screams frontrunner. If you read my Flair recap, she's my pick to win the season. She's understated, but I don't think to be underestimated. I love that she's a speech pathologist while a grad student. You know, she sounds like she's doing good, and she's ambitious, and she's smart and driven and all the right things. And she doesn't seem as arrogant as you think she could be, given how stunning she is. Okay, next we have Hannah B., Miss Alabama. I think this girl's really sweet, but I just can't stand it when girls describe themselves as total messes. I think that that's not I understand owning your imperfections, but I think there's a difference between being like, oh, I do this, this, and this, and these are things I'm working on, and just being like, I'm a total mess, and not providing any examples as to why you're a total mess and why you might be working on not being a total mess anymore. So this is something that's kind of a peeve of mine, but everything else about Hannah B was great, so I'll let that pass. Next we have Katie, who came to LA to dance. I just wrote that she looks like Stacey Dash. She looks exactly like Stacey Dash circa Clueless, in my opinion. And we have Onyeka, whose full name I will not attempt to pronounce. She said, love that she's, I wrote that she referred to her own name not fitting on the screen below her face, and I just love that. It's super meta. I love it when people refer to themselves being on the show while on the show, and she totally did that. Kirpa is the dental hygienist. I love that she said she hopes he flosses. And I don't understand why they play funny music with this, because as a dentist's daughter, I completely think flossing is essential and kind of a deal breaker. And so it's funny that they're playing, you know, clown music while she said this, as though she was weird to expect this. But I don't think it's weird at all. And finally, we have Demi. What I love about Demi is that she's not afraid to just voice her opinion, and clearly all the women were asked what they thought about dating a virgin, or about Colton being a virgin, and virgin, virgin, virgin. That was pretty much the theme of this premiere. And she, thankfully, you know, was open about saying, I'm not sure about that. She said, if you've only ever had a vanilla cupcake, how do you know if you don't love chocolate or strawberry? I believe you should try all the cupcakes before deciding what you love. Now, I personally do agree with this, but I know a lot of people might not. But what I like is that she voiced that opinion. That wasn't just the expected, oh yeah, I love it, he's so perfect, this is exactly what I want, because it's not necessarily what every woman wants, and I just like it when a girl can come out and say that. So we get the Colton preview, and of course we get our requisite topless workout shots, our slow-mo shower shots, and just general Colton looking like, you know, very buff. And while, you know, I can always do without that, but I really like that I realize this is a calculated move on the show's part. We need to see his sensitive side and his hard times. It makes him more relatable. That said, I do like that they focused on his childhood insecurities about not being cool, and he was an overweight child, and he was teased, and all these things that I think a lot of people can relate to. So yeah, I like that they went there, even if it was calculated. Okay, so night one notable moments for me. Demi, back to Demi. I talk about Demi a lot because something about, I wrote that she's aggressive and oozes confidence. She talked about herself a lot in her one-on-one time. I personally think there's probably more to this than they show. They weren't afraid to show her just talking about herself. And she also said things like, she mentioned him complimenting her, and she could tell that he had a crush on her and all this stuff. And even though that could come off as arrogant, I love it. I love Demi. I think she's like, yeah, he has a crush on me. Like, she just says what she thinks, and she's just kind of this badass, and I like her. I like that she doesn't seem to really give a crap what's expected of her. Okay, next we have Erica McNutt, who brought the nuts. I like Erica McNutt. She's cute. Okay, I completely understand why she'd want to know about the virgin thing, but it pained me a bit when she brought that up in her first ever conversation with him. I talk about this in my recap, but I just really don't think that that's first conversation material. Maybe like deep into a one-on-one date, you can bring that up. I just think like, oh, he's explained it before. Can we not talk about that? And of course I realize that, Erica probably voiced a concern about that, and her producer was like, well, then why don't you ask him? Like, see what he says, and if these are your concerns. And I get that she, took them up on that and got an answer to her question. I wish that, especially her, because I really like her, I wish she wasn't the one to give in to that. That said, I relate to her curiosity about it. I just think she could have waited. Next we have Hannah G. Okay, Hannah G, first impression rose recipient. He told her that she stands out. And my favorite thing about Hannah G, beyond all all her fanfare and first impression rose successes, is that she says it's a relief that he says she stands out because she's not someone who's usually competitive. And this stood out to me because I think that too many people take immediate pride in being competitive, when I think being competitive is not actually always a trait of which to be proud. And I don't think it brings out the best in people necessarily. Not always. I'm not making a blanket statement, but I like it when someone's just like, yeah, I'm actually not that competitive. I can relate to that, and I like that she had no qualms about just saying that. Next, we have Kaylynn, Miss North Carolina. She got the first kiss of the season, and there's tons of chemistry here. I actually have a bit of beef with what they discussed, but that's something that I won't waste your time here. I'll cover that over at the blog. But yeah, Kaylynn got the first kiss. She's definitely not going anywhere. We have Sydney, who is the dancer. She brought out the string quartet and the dance lesson. I thought this was memorable but classy. It was a nice touch. I think too many people go with either memorable or classy, and she did both. It was nice. Okay, Catherine. Okay, I know, I'm not going to waste my breath, because we all saw it coming. It happens every single season. There's someone who ruffles everyone's feathers by either getting too drunk and being obnoxious or stealing him many times. And, we know that partially she was ripe for the picking in terms of producer manipulation. And also, there was a producer probably saying, hey, well, if you don't feel like you got enough time, like, go interrupt, like, get your time back. Like, you have to make the most of this. And because I've said before that no one interrupts on night one without a go-ahead. There's a green light, no one's just rolling up and interrupting. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of people behind the cameras. And so it felt very orchestrated and tired and done, and I was just not into it. Okay. And that's not that I'm not into Catherine, actually. I mean, she could have behaved better, but I also feel like it just felt like, okay, we've seen this, it's just a new cast. Like, we've seen this a million times. Okay, no more breath wasted. Cassie. Back to Cassie. I have said I think she's going very far. Front runner music all the way through. She taught him sign language. It was very cute. Okay, Katie then. Let's see. Katie is the dancer. In her one-on-one time with Colton, she talked about believing in having your own separate lives and then having your thing together. And I completely agree with this. I think too many people think, oh, my partner will be my best friend, we'll do everything together, partner in crime and all that stuff. Like, I understand the concept of best friend, partner in crime and all that stuff, but people underestimate how important it is to have your own separate thing. And it's so important. It also makes your romantic relationship healthier. So Yay, Katie, I agree. And then Hannah B, she's the one, the hot mess, but I'm forgiving that. Okay. Yeah, Hannah B. I have nothing much to say about Hannah B. I thought she was great. But what bothers me about this is they're clearly pitting the two pageant girls against each other, even though there's really no evidence to suggest that they have any bad blood whatsoever. Hannah B, in a very kind and, like, you know, fashion, said in an ITM, oh yeah, Kaylynn beat me, like, she was runner-up, no big deal, in Miss USA. And it's such a shame when there's no evidence to suggest that there's bad blood there, and yet we're being force-fed this storyline. I don't know if you noticed, but when Kaylynn got the rose, they shot Hannah B's face. When Hannah got the rose, then they shot Kaylynn's face. This is at the rose ceremony. And it's just like, we're so past this. We watch this show differently now. We don't need those, like, faux storylines. If that does emerge later in the season, then I want actual proof of it, and not just a sort of contrived conflict this early on. Okay, no more venting. Finally, rose ceremony. One thing to say about this, Colton gave Kaylynn and Katie, the two girls he kissed, the first two roses in the rose ceremony. I thought that was pretty classy. Good job, Colton. All right, that's it for the premiere of season 23 of The Bachelor. It's a lot to cover. Thank you for following along with me. I'll be here every Tuesday morning, the morning after, and be sure to read my Flair recap, and later this week, my Pretty Pandas recap. And yeah, I look forward to your comments and hearing if you agree, disagree, and just what you think in general. All right, thanks guys. See you next week. Bye.